and the riddle of BBC Radio Kent. Right then, 9 minutes past 3. Let's welcome back the UK ambassador for happiness. I feel good. He's here, Action Jackson. How are you, Jackson?
I am doing amazing, especially with that track there. That's put a smile on my face, feeling good.
But that's what you say, isn't it? You know, you should feel good, and if music does it for you, play the music and play it loud.
You got it right, Pat. You got it right.
Now, we're making our way through your top 10 tips for being happier. We've made it to number 6. I mentioned earlier, it's talk less and listen more. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, you know, the last time I looked in the mirror, Pat, I noticed that there was a reason why I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And my mother always told me you should listen twice as much as you talk. Because when you listen, you pay attention. And when you pay attention, you empathize with the person that's in front of you, or whether on the phone or physically. And when you empathize, that person feels a sense of support. So taking time to listen to people, it really does do a lot for them. And another thing also is very important. When you're listening to someone, don't just listen and be thinking about something else. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
All right, so make that distinction. What's the difference between hearing and listening?
Well, hearing, we hear sounds every time, you know. But when you listen, you're paying attention. You're zoning in. I always say to people, listen, lock eyes with the person that you're speaking to. When you lock eyes with them, you are totally present. And the other thing also is this. When you repeat back to the person what they said, it shows that you're paying attention to them. And they feel loved.
And they feel loved?
Yes. And happy. And you feel happier as well because you've given them your total attention. But right now, as I'm listening, I'm speaking to you, I'm picturing your face in my mind, locking eyes with you, Pat.
Can you see me smiling? Can you imagine? Because I am smiling. I'm broadly smiling from ear to ear.
I can see it. I can see it in my heart.
Do you know, it is. I'm glad you mentioned that when you're talking to someone on the phone, because sometimes, you know, you can be engaged in a conversation, but your brain isn't fully taking in what people are saying. I interviewed a lady last week who halfway through the interview chucked a bit of old rubbish in the recycling, which made a hell of a clang. And you could tell that she wasn't really engaged in the conversation. So what should you do? Because it is doubly difficult, isn't it, if you're on the phone to someone and you don't have the eye-to-eye contact?
Well, so one of the things I do is I zone into their tone of voice and what they're saying, tone of voice, what they're saying, and I create my imaginary scenario. So I'm imagining what chair you're sitting on, you know, the room you're in. It's in my head. So that helps me to stay present with you as you're speaking right now.
That is good. That is very good. You need to practice something like that, though, don't you? It doesn't come instinctively to us.
Oh, no. It's a skill that needs to be developed. There's so many distractions around us that sometimes we don't realize that we've left the room, you know. So it is a skill that can be practiced by anyone, even everyone listening right now. Just remember the balls of your feet, you know, planted to the floor. And if you can remember the balls of your feet, then you're grounded and you're listening to me and listening to Pat, and you're all connected as one right now.
That is a lovely thing. I like that very much. What happens if the person you're talking to, you've talked to for, I don't know, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years? You know what I'm saying? You get to the point where you kind of don't listen quite so keenly.
Yeah, you know what? I know what you're talking about there, Pat. You know, I've been married for quite a bit now. And just yesterday, my wife and I, we sat and we did go eyeball to eyeball, and we were just sharing stories of how we met. And at some point in time, she got teary-eyed. And, you know, I almost got emotional because in that present moment, we were able to recollect. So for those of us who've been together for a long time or any kind of relationship, just recollect when that relationship started so we can rekindle the fire.
That is nice. That is very good. We're going to break for some music. Action Jackson here with us at BBC Radio Kent this afternoon. This is Travis.
Line by line we drew it up, had our feeling, threw it up, broke the will and tore it up. I can't even say why. All my past is shoring up, beating on my door won't stop. Good light, so I made it up, and I can't even say why. I can't even say why. And I wonder as I walk away, did I ever love it all the way? Did I open up my heart and say it like I mean it? From the air right to the start, from seeing to believing, that I saw a ghost in the mirror, coming near a little close for comfort tonight. Ooh, it's easier to be alive than hide under your pillow while your life is passing you by. One by one they carry us, break our hearts and marry us, dig us up then bury us. I wish I could say why. All my past is sure enough, beating on my door a stop. Couldn't lie so I make it up, that I don't even know why. I don't even know why. And I wonder as I walk away, did I ever love it all the way? Did I open up my heart and say it like I mean it? From the end right to the start, from seeing to believe that I saw a ghost in the mirror, coming near a little close for comfort tonight. Ooh, it's easier to be alive than hide into your pillow while your life is passing you by. So live your life. Don't waste your time. Live your life. Don't waste your time. Saw a ghost in the mirror, coming near. I saw a ghost in the mirror, Oh, I saw a ghost in the mirror, coming near a little close for comfort tonight. Ooh, it's easier to be alive than hide under your pillow while your life is passing you by. So live your life.
Travis and a Ghost, BBC Radio Kent, 16 minutes past 3. We're just basking in the contagious positivity of Action Jackson, our guest for this afternoon, the UK ambassador for happiness. So you explained about your advice of talking less and listening more. We've taken that on board. Next on your list is fear less and try more. What do we fear then? What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, FAIR, many years ago, I learned the acronym for FAIR. It's false experiences appearing real. And about 85%, according to research, 85% of the things we fear is a figment of our imagination. So many of us are scared of doing things because of maybe people's opinion. What would they say? What if I fail? What if I get rejected? And all of this is playing on in our minds. So if you are that kind of person that's fearful, I would encourage you to try that very thing that you're scared of. And that would bring you away from fear, because fear does start to affect our immune system and it makes us vulnerable to sickness.
Okay. So just run us past that again. False experiences appearing real. So in other words, we invent a situation in our mind that hasn't happened and won't necessarily happen, but we convince ourselves that because it might, we best not do it.
Exactly. The imagination is such a powerful thing. Albert Einstein said imagination is a terrible thing to waste. So that false narrative is what we then live off. The things that you're scared of may not be as bad as you made it out to be. You know, maybe for some people it's public speaking, you know. So these are the things. So question your fears. Ask yourself, why am I actually feeling this? Are these fears valid? There's a difference between danger and fear. Danger is, okay, I'm going to get hurt. Okay, I know that. But fear is just a figment of our imagination. So we need to really tackle that by trying that very thing that we are scared of. And you'd be surprised what would happen.
It takes real courage to do that, though, doesn't it? I mean, I know people who are scared of flying, and I don't know if they will ever get on a plane.
Well, see, that's the thing. The first thing I always say to people is just find someone who has actually overcome a fear and speak to them about their process, because they're better able to empathize with your fear. And you might be able to model after their steps, because success always leaves clues. And your job is to follow the clues of those who have become successful in overcoming that fear, and then take that one simple, bold step. It might be closing your eyes and just imagine your next holiday. Just closing your eyes allows the brain to start to settle into the new narrative.
Okay. And what's the first step? What should you do? Should you make a list of the things that you're fearful of and slowly work your way through them if you can?
Well, we're going into this summer period, and make a list and decide to tackle them one at a time. And I think that would be a good challenge for someone, because fear does snare us and it keeps us from enjoying our best life. So yeah, make a list of the things that you're scared of. Find someone who's an expert in that thing, and begin to challenge those things one at a time. And before you know it, you are a happier person.
I'm scared of heights. I'll level with you here, Jackson. Our guttering has fallen apart at the front of the house. Okay, so every time it rains, it comes down and it hits the front of the house, and the brickwork is falling out. Oh, it's a terrible state. But I can't bring myself to climb the ladder to hoik it back together.
Okay, so what I would say is get the ladder, put it against the wall, climb up on the first rung, stand on the rung and say, breathe in, breathe out, I've got this, and walk back inside. And tomorrow, come back again, second rung, third rung, until you're able to get high enough. It's one step at a time, I would say. Yeah. And, maybe get the message to bring the mattress out and put it at the bottom because you fall.
Oh, I don't think I will fall. I think the power of positivity will make me float gently to the ground, should I slip.
Indeed. Keep you floated. Keep you floated.
Yeah. Listen, come back to us soon, won't you? If people would like to find out more about you, how do we get hold of you on social media, Jackson?
Yes, I'm on Twitter, Action Jackson. I'm also on YouTube, Action Jackson Live. You see me on all those platforms. Come get some positivity and some happiness into your life.
Good man. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pat Marsh. BBC Radio Kent.